The rain outside battered the hospital windows like 1,000 tiny hammers. Inside room 208, Emily's heart clung to the icy metal rails of the bed, her knuckles drained of color. Sweat trickled down her temples, damp strands of hair plastered against her forehead. The contractions were hitting faster now, sharp, rolling waves of pain that stole her breath. Through the haze, her gaze kept darting toward the man by the window. Daniel, her husband, wasn't looking at her. He wasn't holding her hand, or even glancing her way. Instead, his attention was fixed on the phone in his hands, thumbs tapping rapidly across the screen. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice barely carrying, raw with pleading. He didn't lift his head. "Yeah." Another contraction crashed through her. She swallowed hard, clutching at the rails. "I need you, please. I can't." Her back arched involuntarily from the pain. He sighed, actually sighed, like she was interrupting something important. "I'm right here. Just, breathe or whatever they tell you. You'll be fine." The nurse, a warm-faced woman with silver threads in her hair, shot him a disapproving look. "Sir, she's in active labor. She needs you here, not buried in your phone." Daniel gave a polite smile but kept scrolling. "I am here," he murmured. "Just finishing something quick." Emily's chest tightened. She knew that tone, distracted, distant, impatient. Another contraction ripped through her, forcing a cry from her lips. Finally, Daniel stepped closer, brushing her arm with a fleeting touch that felt more like an obligation than comfort. "It's okay," he muttered, eyes still elsewhere. His phone buzzed again. In an instant, he snatched it up, posture shifting, shoulders straightening, eyes brightening, the faint trace of a smile forming. Emily tried to push through the pain, but her mind spun. Who could be texting him right now? The nurse adjusted the monitors. The phone buzzed again. This time, Emily saw the name flash across the screen. Veronica Steele. Her stomach clenched. She'd heard that name endlessly. Daniel's boss, wealthy, magnetic, always dressed like she belonged on a magazine cover. Emily had never met her, but she'd seen the photos, and the look in Daniel's eyes whenever he spoke about her. Daniel turned toward the window, reading the message, lips curling into a smile Emily hadn't seen in months. "I'll be right back," he said suddenly. Her heart lurched. "Right back. Daniel, I'm about to have our baby, you can't. I just need a minute." He was already heading to the door. "Sir," the nurse called, "she's progressing quickly, you could miss." But the door swung shut before she could finish. The next 20 minutes dragged like hours. Emily gritted her teeth through each contraction while the nurse's steady voice guided her. But the ache in her chest hurt worse than the pain in her body. She kept glancing toward the door, waiting, but he didn't come back. When the pain eased briefly, she grabbed her phone from the side table. Her hands shook as she checked for messages, nothing. She called. It rang twice, then went to voicemail. A sudden contraction tore through her, nearly making her scream. She clung to the rails, gasping in ragged bursts, vision blurring with tears. The nurse touched her shoulder gently. "You're doing incredible, sweetheart. He'll be back." Emily wanted to believe her. Almost an hour later, the door opened. Daniel strolled in, rainwater dripping from his hair, his expression calm, too calm. No rushing, no apology, not even the pretense of being out of breath. Emily stared, searching his face for a reason, but he offered none. Instead, he stepped to her bedside and cleared his throat. "We need to talk." "Talk?" She blinked, wincing from another pang. "Daniel, I'm in labor. I can't do this anymore." His voice was firm, practiced. "This marriage is over." Her mouth fell open. "What?" "I've been thinking about it for a while. We've grown apart. You're fine with small things, small dreams. I need more. I can't stay stuck in this. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. Stuck. I'm your wife, we're having a baby. I know. I'll support the baby financially. But I'm leaving today. Her voice broke. Who is it? Veronica Steele. He didn't answer, which told her enough. You're leaving your wife in the delivery room to run off with your boss. Daniel's eyes were cold. Veronica understands me. She's successful. She can give me a life you never could. The contraction that hit next was brutal, but she didn't cry out. She looked him dead in the eye. Go. If you walk out now, don't come back. He hesitated for half a second, then left without looking back. When the door closed, Emily's chest caved. Tears spilled freely as the nurse rushed to her side. He's a fool. Focus on your baby. You've got this. Emily bit her lip, breathing through the ache in her chest. I can do this, she whispered. I don't need him. The nurse squeezed her hand. Ready to meet your little one? Emily shut her eyes. She was ready, not just for the baby, but for whatever came next. Because Daniel might have walked away believing she was small, weak, replaceable. But he had no idea what she was capable of. By the time Daniel stepped out of the hospital, the rain had softened to a cold drizzle. He didn't look back once. He didn't want to see Emily's face or hear her call his name, asking him to stay. He'd made his choice. In his mind, he was moving on to something better. A sleek black limousine idled at the curb. The back door opened before he reached it, and a smooth, confident voice drifted out. Daniel, Veronica Steele greeted, a faint smile curling her lips. Get in. You're dripping on my leather. She looked exactly as he remembered from company events, a fitted dark suit, silk blouse, hair pinned to perfection. Her perfume radiated the kind of expensive self-assurance he craved. Daniel slid into the plush leather seat, the door shutting out the rest of the world. It's done? She asked, eyes glinting as she sipped from a glass. He nodded. She knows it's over. Any trouble? He smirked faintly. No scene. I think she's suspected for a while. Veronica leaned back, her smile sharp. Good. I don't do drama, I do results. And you, Daniel, will deliver results for me. Her phone buzzed. He caught the name, someone big in finance, before she quickly replied to the message and looked back at him. You've been wasting yourself in that life, she said plainly. You were meant for more than small paychecks and modest little rooms. With me, you won't think twice before getting what you want. Daniel's grin deepened, letting her words paint the life he'd been chasing. That's what I've been waiting for. Her smile widened just slightly. Then stop waiting. Start proving. Meanwhile, back in the hospital, Emily gazed at her newborn son. His eyes were closed, his tiny breaths soft, his little fists curled tightly. She ran a gentle fingertip over his cheek. It's just you and me now, she murmured. Her phone buzzed. She reached for it, expecting her sister or a friend. Instead, the name on the screen made her heart race, the lead investor she'd been working with in secret. The message was brief, deal closed. $10 billion secured. Funds transferred. She read it twice to be sure. Months of late nights, quiet calls, and careful planning had led to this, the largest merger in global tech's history. And Daniel had no idea. Her smile was faint, not from pride, but from knowing something no one else did. For months, Daniel had looked at her as if she were small, incapable, unfit for big moves. She remembered those words, people who could handle them. She glanced down at her baby. We're going to be more than fine, she whispered. That night, the room was quiet except for the low hum of machines. Emily's thoughts weren't. She replayed the image of Daniel walking out, the name Veronica flashing on his screen. She knew Veronica's reputation, ruthless, brilliant, loyal to no one. Daniel thought he had stepped into power and luxury. Emily suspected he'd stepped into a cage disguised as a penthouse. The next morning, while a nurse helped her pack, her phone rang again, this time from Global Tech's board. In 2 weeks, the deal would be announced publicly, and they wanted her as the face of it all. Every headline. Every interview. Every photo, hers. Emily agreed instantly. She knew what it would mean for Daniel to see her there. She wasn't going to call him. She wouldn't explain. The world would tell him who she had become. Across the city, Daniel sat opposite Veronica in her penthouse, dinner for two on a candlelit table. A bottle of champagne chilled in silver beside them. To new beginnings, Veronica said, lifting her glass. Daniel clinked his against hers. And leaving the past behind. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. She took a slow sip, then set the glass down. Just make sure the past doesn't follow you. He laughed lightly, missing the edge in her voice. In his mind, he was in control. He couldn't have been more wrong. 2 weeks later, Daniel stood in the center of a glittering ballroom, the scent of perfume and champagne swirling in the air. It was one of the city's most prestigious nights, where millionaires came to be seen, and billionaires came to make deals. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, casting light over the crowd. Waiters in crisp black vests moved with flawless precision between the tables. Beside him, Veronica Steele looked as though she'd walked straight off a high-fashion magazine cover, sleek black gown, diamond earrings winking under the lights, her smile polished for every camera flash. Daniel adjusted his cufflinks, savoring the attention. This was the life he believed he was meant for. It had been easy to let the memory of Emily in that hospital bed fade beneath the glow of this new world. A photographer approached. "Ms. Steele, Mr. Carter, over here." Daniel slid an arm around Veronica's waist, holding the pose as the flash went off. He liked the way it sounded, Mr. Carter, standing beside a woman who could open doors he never knew existed. Half an hour into the evening, the music softened. The master of ceremonies took the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention for tonight's most anticipated announcement?" The room quieted. Daniel sipped his champagne, barely listening, until he caught the words global tech and historic $10 billion merger. He straightened in his seat. That was massive news in their circles. The MC continued, "Tonight, we honor the extraordinary leadership behind this achievement. Please join me in congratulating the new CEO of Global Tech, Emily Hart." For a split second, Daniel thought he'd misheard. Then the massive projection screens around the ballroom lit up, Emily's face filling them. Confident smile. Navy suit. Hair pulled neatly back. The applause thundered. Cameras flashed. People rose to their feet. Daniel's champagne glass slipped, spilling onto the white tablecloth. Veronica didn't clap. She simply watched him, her eyes unreadable. He couldn't take his eyes off the screen, off the woman he had left in a hospital bed, now one of the most powerful figures in the industry. The caption read, "Emily Hart secures record $10 billion deal. Appointed CEO." The MC's voice carried over the applause. Her vision and determination brought together the largest international partnership in our field's history. This is leadership at its finest. Daniel's throat was dry. The words hit him like a slow punch. He thought of the late nights, the quiet calls she'd stepped outside to take, the locked laptop he'd brushed off. All those small things he had ignored. And he had walked away from it. Around him, guests buzzed with excitement over Emily's brilliance, her impossible success. Some glanced his way, whispering behind champagne flutes. Veronica leaned closer, her tone cool. "Looks like your past caught up to you after all." Daniel's voice was tight. "You knew." Her lips curved faintly. "Of course I knew. Everyone who matters knew this deal was coming. The real question is, why didn't you?" Daniel clenched his hands in his lap, saying nothing. The applause faded as the program moved on, but his mind stayed locked on that image, Emily, larger than life, surrounded by admiration and power. He realized he had traded a diamond for glitter. And the glitter was already beginning to dull. The rest of the evening passed in stiff silence. The clinking glasses and polite laughter grated on him. For the first time, the room felt smaller. And for the first time, Daniel wondered if he'd just made the worst choice of his life. 3 weeks after the gala, Daniel's car rolled to a stop in front of the towering steel gates of the Hart estate. He'd been here once, years ago, when the land was nothing but dirt and weeds. Emily had told him she would turn it into something extraordinary. He'd laughed, called it too ambitious, too expensive. Now the gates gleamed under the watch of security cameras, opening onto a sweeping driveway lined with manicured gardens. Daniel cut the engine, sitting in silence. His fingers rested on the steering wheel, restless. In the past few days, he'd told himself many reasons for coming, to apologize, to explain, maybe just to see her. But beneath all of it lay the truth, he had nowhere else to go. Things with Veronica had soured quickly after the gala. The charm that once drew him in had been replaced with clipped words and cold stares. She started taking business trips without telling him. When she was home, she treated him like an accessory she no longer wore in public. Daniel had thought he'd be different, that he'd be the exception. He wasn't. Now he stood here, flowers in hand, hoping there was still a way back. He pressed the intercom button. A crackle, then Emily's voice, calm, even, unshaken. Yes. Emily, it's me. Daniel. A long pause followed, the silence stretching until his stomach knotted. What do you want? I need to see you. Please. Just for a few minutes. Another pause. Then the gates slid open with a slow mechanical hum. Daniel drove through, forcing down the flicker of hope in his chest. The driveway curved around a fountain before stopping in front of a grand white stone house, its tall glass windows glinting in the light. He climbed the steps, flowers still in his grip. Before he could knock, the door opened. Emily stood there, their young son balanced on her hip. The child's small hand clutched at her cream sweater. She looked different, stronger. The softness he remembered had been replaced by something sharper, steadier. Daniel, she said flatly. He attempted a smile. Hey. You look great. She didn't return it. Why are you here? He cleared his throat, holding the bouquet out to her. I came to apologize, for everything. I should have been there for you. For him. His eyes flicked to the boy, who stared back curiously. I let my pride get in the way. I made a mistake, Emily. I see that now. She didn't take the flowers. A mistake is forgetting the groceries. You made a choice. I know. I thought I was chasing something better. But I realize now that what we had was worth more than all of that. Her expression didn't soften. What you had was a family. And you left it in the delivery room because you thought there was an easier road to money. Before you say it wasn't about money, don't, she added sharply. I've replayed that day too many times. You didn't even look back, Daniel. Not once. Her words stung, but he pressed on. I want to fix this. I want to be here for you, for him. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking for another chance. Emily studied him for a moment, then adjusted her son in her arms. You think this is about what you deserve? You think the right words can rewind what happened? She shook her head. You left me when I was at my weakest. And I survived without you. More than survived. He stepped closer. Emily, please. I saw you on that stage. I'm proud of you. I want to be part of that world with you. Her eyes narrowed. That world? The one you said I couldn't handle? The one you walked away from before it even began? Daniel hesitated. I didn't know. That's right, she cut in. You didn't know because you never cared to ask. You assumed I was small, that I couldn't dream beyond the limits you set. Her voice lowered, steady but firm. He'll know who you are. I won't lie to him about that. But he'll also know what you did, and that respect is something you earn, not something you get just because you share blood. Daniel swallowed. So that's it. You're shutting me out. You shut yourself out, Daniel. I'm just leaving the door closed. Silence lingered. Daniel looked at the flowers, then placed them on the step. For what it's worth. I am sorry. Emily didn't respond. She stepped back and closed the door with a deep, final thud. Daniel stood there for a moment before turning toward his car. The gates opened as he drove away, but there was no hope waiting on the other side, only the hollow echo of what he'd lost. Inside, Emily set her son down in the living room, watching as he crawled toward a pile of brightly colored toys. She picked up the flowers from the step and carried them to the kitchen. She placed them in a vase, not because she wanted them, but because she believed in making something useful out of what remained. As the water filled the vase, her thoughts lingered on the lesson in all of it. Not just for her son, but for herself. People reveal who they truly are when you're at your lowest. And when they do, you must decide whether to let their choices define you, or to define yourself. Emily had made her choice. And somewhere down a long, empty road, Daniel was coming to terms with his own. The weight in his chest told him what he hadn't wanted to admit. Betrayal in the pursuit of quick gain costs more than you can ever reclaim. That if you enjoyed this story, I'd love for you to join our growing community. Hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so you never miss the next chapter of courage and resilience. Through these stories, we share hope and help create a brighter future for women and children facing challenges around the world. Drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from and how this story touched you. Your words inspire us to keep going.